Hello guys, we will start soonly. We still didn't buy proper camera. We are in the middle of the process getting a little bit better equipment for uh, the real streaming. So please bear with us. I hope this will be the last meetup with this bad equipment, and I hope next time we will get a proper camera. We will share the slides anyway, and I hope you will hear it. Okay, so hi. I hope yes.
Um, and camera two, oh, you're doing it that way.
Yeah, I will the built-in camera.
Okay. Hi, everybody on the Hangout. It's Lisa. Hello, everybody around the world. Hello, everybody in the room. Oh my gosh, it's the holidays. Where the heck is everybody? My favorite part of kicking off the meetups is looking around the room and observing the interesting table layout because we change it every single time. I mean, as a presenter, you guys must just be thinking I don't understand why we have to rearrange the tables every single time, but it keeps it interesting. But I like the layout this time because you can actually face forwards instead of facing sideways and getting a neck cramp. So I'm gonna vote for a layout, I'm gonna vote for this layout. Anyway, good to see you guys all again. Welcome back, chapters 5 and 6 today. Happy holidays. We don't just stuff cupcakes down your throat when the Giants win the World Series. We also have happy holiday cupcakes, happy New Year's cupcakes, and cookies. So make sure you grab dessert. And I can see I got way too many cupcakes fitting out of people that are here. So take 3 at least, minimum. That's all we ask. All right. So Solomon was here from everyone was here 2 weeks ago. You know how good he is. So happy to have him back. It made it was all the way to Texas. What a great job you did. Obviously, great to have Sean back. Rick, as always, my partner in crime is here. And the lovely Alina. Oh my gosh, I can't do this without Alina. So she feeds you, she keeps the lights on, she keeps everything working. So thank you so much, Alina. And so Rick, you're gonna do our something at the end. Getting her end. I think at the end, because I think Solom's ready to go. Yeah. Sorry, I caught him like right when he stuffed a huge bite of pizza in his face, and then he decided to drink beer, and so we're never going to get to the answer to this question.
So maybe I should do the RC. He's all set up to go.
Yeah, we'll do it again. Okay, so last time we asked you a question, I'm here.
Let's make sure people who would like an introduction, a 5-minute introduction to IRC.
5-minute introduction to IRC.
Okay.
Enthusiastic.
We'll do that afterwards.
Okay, so we'll do it at the end. So those who aren't as interested in IRC, but apparently Mr. Roberts talked at about IRC last week, and there were some cross-eyed looks and confused people, and so Rick has graciously offered to do a real quick IRC training, because if you're going to do anything in OpenStack, you kind of got to be on board with IRC. Just how it is. All right, so without further ado, thank you so much, Solomon. Take it away.
So can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Okay. There's just one correction that we are still continuing 3 and 4. Today we are not going to do the 5 and 6.
Sorry.
So just wanted to make sure that the topic is completed. We covered 3 and 4 quite a bit last week, but there was some sections in 3 and 4 which were not covered in detail, and I would like to wrap that whole chapter up rather than just jump over to the next chapter and ignoring some of the stuff. And those things are quite interesting as well for those people who are more interested about, like, for example, how the authentication works, how the different services within the OpenStack domain talk to each other, especially from the authentication perspective, and also what kind of message exchange is happening between different services or the components which are involved within this. So I'm assuming everybody is familiar.
Just a first question: is the slides already available somewhere? Can we post it?
They are not available at this point. They will be available after.
Okay, just for the camera, it's really hard to see. Oh, so okay. Anyway.
They are not available.
Okay.
Unless you have something where I can share it directly.
I have a thumb drive.
So let's jump into the section which I'm going to cover now. So we are going to talk about the Keystone architecture today. We covered that bit last week, 2 weeks ago, and I'm just going to recap a little bit, just to refresh everyone and up to speed, which is basically what Keystone's role is within the OpenStack. Obviously, it is involved for the user management, which means that which user can do what the state is provided or controlled by the Keystone. It also maintains the service catalog. What does service catalog means? Means that what kind of API is available for whom? Who can access what kind of service? Like somebody wants to access Nova, which is the compute Nova API, who can do it, and what is the URL for that? So that URL, long URL, which is available, which you can access to Nova or the compute node, is called endpoint node. This is another terminology over here. Network accessible address to access particular service. Similarly for Neutron, similarly for API, like similarly for heat template. So any component within the OpenStack will have that URL. Right? And I'll show you that how it will be when I go to the OpenStack. And it also maintains the tenant, like it means it's a group of different resources, and the token is an interesting one because that is being used when the transaction or the request goes from one place to the next. So we will cover the flow, how the transaction goes from requester to the worker, whoever is requesting, how it goes through the Keystone, and how it gets forwarded to who is acting upon the request. And if you want to integrate with the LDAP, that is also one of the aspect of Keystone. So a lot of people would want to do more towards LDAP authentication. You don't want to be getting the user name. So this one is the process which is explaining that what exactly is happening when somebody is interested to make a request. So in this case, for example, analyst wants to request some service to create from the Nova. And in this case, as you can see that over here, she's making a request. So obviously, the credentials are something which are basically provided by the user or the API. So in this example, the user and API are kind of treated in a similar fashion. Because the reason is that the horizon, the dashboard which you guys see, under the hood, it is also using the same API. So whether you are directly talking to the API or the GUI is talking to the Keystone, both of them are talking the same language. So you can see over here that when the request is being made, obviously the credentials are being sent with user ID and password. And at the same time, what happens is that the Keystone basically gives the token. Template token is created and it is basically given back to the user, whoever is requesting that. And at the same time, as I just explained, the catalog, that is also provided. So what does catalog mean? That whoever is the user, what exactly he is capable of, what he can do, whether he is allowed, he is a simple user or he is an Next thing is that the user basically, in this case, Alice requests all the tenants she has. So again, temporary token is provided along with the request, and the list of tenants is being sent from the Keystone back to me. So it's showing the flow. Then when we move to the next step, she wants to create some service. So what happens is that credentials are again sent to the desired tenant or a specific tenant who is trying to create a service. And the type, for example, launch an instance, please, and then basically, again, it is checked whether that request that is valid for that tenant, and the tokens are also valid for that tenant. And then once they are all validated, then basically a specific endpoint is being invoked. So again, endpoint is invoked means, like for example, if Nova is being called, like the compute to create an instance, that particular endpoint is determined, and the correct endpoint is invoked to launch the service. Along with the service, the token is also provided so that to make sure that all the way up to the service level, it is the right user who still has the capability to access that. Once we move to the next level, as you can see that now as you can see the picture is changed. Now the service is talking to the Keystone, and basically what happens is that and the URL, whatever the endpoint URL which is being invoked along with the token. It is checked again. The user has the authority, and the token is also provided match of the request, and then basically Keystone moves to the next level and basically uh, uh, does it whatever the service request is being made, is made for, like creating an instance. So as you can see in this picture that now the talk is whatever the message flow is happening between Keystone and service and the endpoint. So it's basically showing that which service is being requested and which URL is supposed to be used to launch that service. Any questions so far? In this last slide, in terms of the service request flow, when the specific URL or the endpoint is invoked, the service is basically executed on a specific service. Whatever the service, like if it's a mobile on the compute node, then it basically executes that service, and specific action is performed, like, for example, instance is created. And then it basically sends the response back to the API that notify the user that, okay, your request is successfully fulfilled, or if there is a failure happening, then it will notify that user as well that there is a failure. So this is the complete flow of the request and the response model in terms of the keystone, how the whole cycle works. In the next slide, I'm going to show you that some of the aspects of Keystone CLI when you are actually creating those users, how at the CLI level it is happening. Let me jump over to the OpenStack Horizon dashboard, sorry, on the CLI. But before I go to the CLI, let me show you the services which are available. So as you can see in this list over here, these are the different endpoints, service endpoints available for this user. Which user is that? It's a demo user. And for this particular demo user, these are the different endpoints. So when you are launching some kind of a service, like for example, for in case of compute node when you are talking, this is the endpoint which you are going to use if you are logged in as a demo user. Similarly, on the like for example, image service, if you're going to use, then you will use this endpoint. In some cases, it is a little bit more encrypted, depending on who has what kind of user and what kind of authority you have. Sometimes it is very generic because it doesn't matter who is coming in and who is trying to access it, because it's pretty much maybe it's available for everyone. So that's what as I mentioned earlier, that I'm going to talk about. So the next thing is, let's try to create a user and see what exactly how it will look like on the OpenStack. This is the OpenStack instance, and I'm logged in on the controller. I'm going to source my user credentials so that I have it right users.
Can you make the font just a little bigger?
Okay.
Also, can you make change the color so what is black could be white and what is white could be black, if there is any, because there is so much white the camera cannot record it.
That I don't have to figure out how to do it.
Colors? Colors?
Foreground is black.
It's under window or terminal.
There's no profiles or something like that.
Flip the colors. Flip the colors. I think it's under window. Go under color and click on it.
Yeah, no, change the color. Will stay. It's actually not that hard to read. You can read it.
No, on video. On
video.
video.
On the video.
They make it more visual.
No.
Still hard to read.
Okay, it's okay.
It's just colors.
Obviously, it's command, option, control,
The main
A.
problem is the contrast is not big enough for them. We have one user so far, but there are 7 people who already
But he's already in the right place.
subscribed
Background
to my
color.
personal channel, so only 7 people so far. But usually one. Almost every recorded session get around 100 views so far. Yeah.
Okay, I think it's, I don't know when we want to do this.
How about load presets? Button at the bottom.
Now, if you change the
All right,
color,
there you go.
Okay.
if you change the colors, and then you're probably gonna have to open a new window for it to get it. I don't know how you apply it to the existing one.
Okay. So, yeah, there we
There
go.
you go.
Yeah.
Okay, that's fine, that works.
I'm waiting for the beauty. Is that better?
Yeah, it's better. Yeah. Thank you.
Java's looking out for you guys. You got an angel on your side.
So I'm logging into my OpenStack controller node. In my case, everything is running on one instance, but that's what controller node is, where I'm going to run this. And let me try to source my user details, like login ID and everything, which user can do this, and let me see what user details. So this is demo user, and let me go back and see which commands we have in this line. As you can see over here. There are a whole bunch of commands, but before I go and create the user, let's try to run the Keystone user list to see whether we have access to it. Let me do Nova list first. I covered this last time, but as you can see the Nova list, I can see what are my instances which are running on this OpenStack. Now if I issue the command Keystone user list, I'm seeing this error message or not error, but some kind of a response that you are not authorized to perform the requested action, admin requirement. The reason I cannot issue this command is because the demo user, which I am at this point, does not have admin rights to invoke and talk to the Keystone and create users. Only admin can create the users, as you may understand that. Not everybody can create users, otherwise anybody can create anyone. So let me go to the browser and make this user as an admin user. I think he may not be the admin user, so that's why I need to change his permissions. And for that, I need to navigate admin and then give the admin user the authority to be able to perform the necessary actions. So if I look at the projects, demo project, you can see what the user is. If you look at this user over here, he doesn't have admin rights. This is the demo user and he doesn't have admin rights. So So if I give him pending right, now if I go back on the command line, if I try to issue this command, now as you can see, right, now you can see the user, all the users which are part of the system. Now, the part of the next thing, what I'm going to do that is I'm going to create this user. So, so there you go. So the user is created. So if when you go to the GUI, when the new user is created, this is exactly what is happening. Now if I go and look at all the users, so you see in this previous list there is no Alice. If I look at the user list, Alice is having. And similarly, when you are going to create a tenant, the tenant will also be added. So the tenant is created, and the user is created. Now, what role you want to give that particular user? You need to provide the role. So you need to create a new role. So let's say create a new role for the compute mode. So I'm going to create a new role as compute user. So any user, you can create any user, but he cannot do anything unless you tell them what your role is. So we have created user, we have created tenant, we have created a role. We haven't associated them, right? We haven't linked them together. Which user can do what. So in this command, we are going to add a specific user to specific role under the specific tenant. And as you can see, this command it is using the IDs over here. So we need to figure out what the IDs are in our case. So I'm going to specify the user ID over here. This is the user ID. The ID column and the user ID is this one. So for this user, and for this user, I'm going to tie this to this role. What is the role over here? This is the role over here. And which tenant it belongs to. So I'm going to say tenant ID equals and then basically where is my tenant ID. So this is my tenant. So before I issue this command, let's look at on the GUI on the line. So if you look at our projects, we obviously the entries over here. You look at who is underneath there, there's no user, right? As we have not assigned any user. So similarly, if you go under the user is not associated with any group. If you look at for example, if you look at the demo user, you probably will see which project is part of. But if you look at the Alice, no project at all. You can assign from the GUI as well, but I'm not going to do it from the GUI. I just wanted to show you how it do So now I just ran this command. Now, if you go back on the GUI and see it, now I can go back to my project. I think there's something with wrong associated with that, so we probably have not associated with that. I'm not going to debug it at this point. There might be an error somewhere in the logs why it is happening. I probably will not use it to debug, but typically that's what you will do is that you will add a user and associate the role and the specific thing. There might be some kind of I think what I did wrong is that I should have used the name. Something went wrong, so that's why this command is running. So going back to the user list, we have already read this command. We already know what it does. Oh, I know what happened. As you can see, when I did a copy and paste, you can see I did the hash over there. See that hash in the beginning? This one, so you did not actually run this command. So hashes are coming down. That's one. So if I issue the no, so something is not right, unrecognized on this. So there's some also some other something else is also
Tenant dash ID.
Tenant dash ID, yes.
ID is what you said?
Tenant dash ID, the property name, tenant dash ID, yes.
So now let's look at the so I guess we figured that out. So let's see. So let's do it. So anyway, so that's what the idea is. The idea behind it is that I don't think it's time national because
You still use hash over the.
right?
Yes.
So I there you go. Okay. That's all. So the command is right, and as you can see now, the user. So now another interesting part of the keystone is that it's not just limited to the keystone, but because the keystone is something which is being used for the authentication, how we decide that who can do and who can do what, like which role can do what kind of services, like whether you is always admin has to do certain type of services or some other user can also do that. So that's where the policy comes into the picture. And there is a separate section under ETC, depending on which service you're talking about, whether it's Nova for compute, or it is Glance for image service, or if it is Keystone itself, or if it is Neutron. For each one of that, there is a policy file, which is in the JSON format, which dictates that who can invoke what kind of services. So if let's look at the one of the file, for example, let's look at the Nova file. That what does it look like? So if I open my the Nova policy file under ATC, you can see that what are the different roles and who can do what, like compute, create, and all these things. Only hope admin can do this, all these actions. Admin or owner can start the compute. Admin or owner can stop it. If it is empty, that means probably anyone can do it. So for each action, it is basically dictating the rule or the policy that who can invoke that, who can invoke API, who can create, who can destroy, who can take the snapshot, and things like that. So this is basically all those policies are different. And there are some extended compute extension commands as well. So it's also explaining and it's giving the definition for the quantifying the policies. Similarly, if I look at the glance, then those also define that okay, add image, delete image, get image, and here is the admin who has the ability to do that. So there is a concept of, I think, inheritance over here as well, that when you define some role in the given section, ID or if it says admin can do it, that means it is basically inheriting all of that. But if you override that for a specific role, then all those roles can be used. So So that's pretty much it as far as the keystone is concerned. Next thing I would like to cover is the message queue. So OpenStack, basically all these different services, when they are communicating to each other, they are also communicating through the message queue. So there are two aspects of communication. One is the API, which is asynchronous, but at the same time, when they are talking, different services are talking to each other other than the request response from the user or the API, they are also talking to each other through the message bus. And in this case, basically, they are using AMQP, Advanced Message Queuing Protocol. RabbitMQ and Cupid are two of the implementations which are being used, either RabbitMQ or Cupid, but most in my setup it is RabbitMQ. There's an AMQP broker, and which allows you to which allows different components or the different service, the different sections within the OpenStack to talk to each other. And one of the benefit of message queue is that, like in a more traditional, if you look at the difference between message queue and the traditional communication, in a traditional communication, when one side sends something, it basically waits for the completion of that. And in this case, the one side just make some request or notify something, and then continue, move on to the next thing. So it's completely kind of a decoupled or asynchronous form of communication where both sides, when they are talking to each other, they don't have to wait for each other. One side just does something and then move on, and then the other side will, if it needs to pick up something, it will pick it up from the queue. If it doesn't, if it is still not there, it will try it again sometime later on the set interval. And meanwhile, whatever the set interval is, it will use it. So it gives you kind of a, from the performance perspective, it gives you a lot of benefits. And I mean, in terms of balance, who can call what? There is a kind of a random balancing algorithm. So again, what are the message queues? What type of message queues exist in case of OpenStack? As you can see over here, that for each one of these services, like whether it's Cinder, it's Neutron, Nova, or any other service, there is its own message queue which basically exists. So if all the compute nodes, if they want to talk to each other, they will be using their own message queue. If the Neutron wants to talk to, if they have an HA implementation of Neutron, and the different Neutron nodes wants to talk to each other, they will be using their own message. Again, this is another picture where we are basically showing a little bit more detail that okay, who is using AMQP, the message queuing protocol, and where does it? So you can see that there is a scheduler exists within the message queue, which basically allows all the network controllers to use AMQP when they're talking to each other. The reason a scheduler exists is that so that if there is a kind of a burst of messages are thrown to the message queue can handle that and determine that who is requesting. So it does the management of all the messages. The RabbitMQ which we are using, that is the scheduler, and it basically maintains the queuing and also maintains that who this message is for whom. So in different queues which are created, it basically maintains that. So in the next picture, we are going to show you kind of a message flow, what is happening over here. But before we go further into the kind of a flow, that I'm going to show you that how the message is flowing from one side to the other. Let's look at some of the definitions that we can. And as in this picture, just for the time being, just look at the picture and see that what are the different layers involved in this picture. As you can see, RabbitMQ, there are some definitions involved in the RabbitMQ board itself. Then there are some other players involved, like there is a topic publisher, direct consumer, topic consumer, direct publisher, and the main architecture of the queue itself, as you can see in the picture over here. Control exchange as well. So now let's look at what exactly it means. What it means is that topic publisher is basically nothing but the one who basically pushes the message to the queue system. So anyone can be a topic publisher as long as he's playing this role. That's what it means. Like when you are when a message is created, that okay, create an instance inside Nova, then whoever is requesting that control that request is generated, that is called, that can be a copy publisher. Copy consumer is the one who receives the response message from the queuing system. Copy consumer is the person who receives the message and involves an action. Like in case of Nova, for example, the one who is creating the instance is the instance creating option. The command which is creating instance, or the, the, the method which is doing this actual job. That's basically how we use it. Direct publisher return the message required by the request response operation. Copy and exchange is the message routing policy. This is where, then like in the middle, there is a box in the picture. So that's what that's where the policy exists. Who can talk to whom? That's what primarily means. So if you look at the picture over here, this is basically the component I'm talking about. And again, if you look at it over here, then direct exchange, the routing table for all operations, and the queue element is basically what exactly the message which is inside the file. So now let's look at the next one. So in case of message queuing, there are two methods are available. One is a request response model, which means that through the message queue, you send some request, but you also expect some response as well. Like for example, when you create an instance, like a VM you have created, now you also might want to see that what happened when you create the VM. You want to see, you want to collect the response whether the VM was very successfully created or not. So that is called request response model. Another type of methodology is non-responsive, which is kind of a published model. You just say that okay, I'm doing this, and then that's it. You don't care about the response, whether that happened or not. Like in case of, for example, if you wanted to write something on the object store, you can write something and let the object store mechanism, like for in our case, Swift writes and do whatever is necessary to write it to the case, but you don't care whether it was successfully written or not. That's one example. But if you care about what is written, then you will use more like a request response model. So in request response model, which is also called RPC call, this is the kind of a flow in which it is basically doing it. A topic publisher is instantiated to send a message. Again, if you still remember the publisher, who is that? A person who is basically pushing the message. Topic publisher is basically instantiated to send a message to the queuing system. Immediately before the publishing operation, a direct consumer is instantiated to wait for the response message. So whoever is supposed to listen to that message is basically pulling the queue and basically connect that message. Direct consumer, the person who basically receives that. Once the message is dispatched by the exchange, it is dispatched by the topic consumer. They are dictated by the routing key, like basically determines who it is intended for. Once the task is completed, the direct publisher is allocated to send the response. So it is basically whoever is supposed to act upon it, basically respond to that, and then it goes back to the direct consumer. So this is again the picture. This is the side which is basically requesting the message. It goes to the control exchange, and then basically the consumer picks it up, and responds back, and then it goes back into the queue, and then it picks up by the direct consumer. So you can see on this side and on this side, on the left and on the right side, that who is basically requesting, making the call, and the one who is basically working on the right side. So that's the kind of this is called RPC call method, where you are following the request response model. The other one is the RPC the cast model. RPC cast is a one-way or a publisher model, where you just dump the message into the queue and then that's it. So a topic publisher is instantiated to send the message request to the queuing system. Once the message is dispatched by the exchange, it is dispatched by the topic consumer. So in this picture, as you can see over here, it's just one-way message. You don't care about what happens after that. So these are the two approaches which are being used inside the OpenStack. One is more kind of a request and response type, and the other one is just publisher. Any questions so far? No? Yes?
No, I have a quick question here. Are the details of one-way?
Can you use a mic as well?
No, are the details of one-way
Hang on,
and
because
request
we want the
response?
hangout people to.
You can stay where you are.
We just want to make sure everybody on the, around the world can hear your question. Thousands, hundreds of thousands of people have heard all.
The question is all this messaging details. Is this part of OpenStack?
It is part of Open. I mean, the explanation which I'm providing today, it is part of OpenStack. It is also part of the chapter 3 and 4, which we are still completing today. So if you look at the on the docs, OpenStack.org website, under the docs, you will find more granular details on this as well. And if you are more interested, then you can even look even further as well. I'm just giving a kind of a high-level overview of the what exactly OpenStack is using and for what purpose. Like I'm giving, for example, taking an example of Nova in this case, that how different Nova nodes probably will be talking to each other through the message queue, but it is applicable for other services as well. And yeah, so
the primitives like I want this much of compute and I want this much of storage. Those are the more interesting ones and the ones that the user cares about. But these are nuts and bolts.
This is like an internal communication of different components. You are correct. So that's why I covered API first in the previous class and some of the continuation like in Keystone in case of Keystone. But those are user specific. The APIs are. This is like a system specific. How different compute nodes are talking to each other. What kind of mechanism they are using. And if you are interested to write or contribute to that at that level, then this is something which you need to understand as well.
Thank you.
Okay, another question?
Is there
Hang on.
I think,
Is there some tool to visualize the message flow?
yes, I'm going to actually show you some of that as well.
Questions?
So there's one.
No, I got that.
Last year, I was under the understanding that most of the messages that went through the queue were RESTful APIs and not RPC calls or requests. And those all went to the database. So, and my understanding last week was that why or
Your understanding is partially right. The reason I'm saying partially right is that when like for example, when the Keystone is creating some users, it is talking to the database. And in case of database, when it is communicating with the database, it is not using the message queue. When different, imagine if you have the Keystone is not a good example, but imagine you have two Nova instances, two compute hosts running. And if they need to talk to each other to know that which at what capacity one node is running, and if you need to launch another instance, which one is the right compute host, then at that time they are talking to each other. So when the services they are talking to each other, most likely they are talking to each other through the API. Like when the Keystone is talking to Nova, it is talking to API. When the user is talking or Horizon is talking to the Neutron, it is most likely talking to the API. But when those different services, if they are, especially if they are in an HA mode or there are multiple instances of them, they need to make sure they are managed properly. They are talking to each other through the message. So is it clear now?
Thank you. Rick has a question, and while I'm walking over here, very slowly because I have stuff to say, there's so much pizza back there. There is a lot of cookies, and there are entirely too many cupcakes. Do not make Alina and I go home and eat 2 boxes of cupcakes each, okay? We know we can't hit the holidays running like that. So your duty what did I say, 3 cookies each minimum and at least 1 cupcake, that's all we ask.
As a part of the quiz, we will distribute.
Yeah.
Okay. Your prize, happy to. And there's lots more pieces, so please help yourself.
So this is a graphical question. I usually read flow diagrams from left to right, unless the arrows point the other way. And you have 2 arrows pointing from right to left. So, and they seem to be contradictory.
Wait,
When you move, okay, right in the dead center, there are 2 arrows pointing the other way.
in the control, oh,
That's
okay, I think that's
Can you point out
probably,
the control versus the data flow? And I'm a little confused with which one's which.
I think it is,
Red is your flow, is your data flow, but I'm not positive.
it is not data flow. The only thing it is showing is that the control exchange is taking the information from the queue and determining where to send it. So because the control exchange is the one who basically maintains the logic. So I don't think it's a data flow, the one with 2 arrows which are going to be control exchange from the queue, the topic, the key topic and the key topic host. So I think it's the reason to show that way is to tell that, okay, control exchange is picking the information from the queue and then processing it. So next thing is someone also asked that, okay, what kind of orchestration or what is available to see what's happening inside the message. So there are some commands available, like for example through the Rabbit MQ control CLI, there are a whole bunch of things which can be looked upon. So let's see what is happening in our system. I'm going to again go to I issue this command. As you can see, it is having only root or Rabbit MQ user should be able to issue this command. So what I need to do is that since I'm not root, I need to just do it over here. So now I can see. So you can see if I use status, and I can see the status of my message queue. You can see what are the different message queues exist or whether it is running, what is the memory size of that, and if I need to know more about it, let's look at what is on the slide. So, like for example, how many list exchanges or list queues exist? Is this interesting one is that the list queues, which can tell you what are the different list queues are in this one. List queue and name. So in this case, as you can see, it's we have a single volume, we have a centimeter queue. So these are different queues which are listed. So we have my VM is the compute as well. So this is the message queue for compute. There's the DHCP agent message queue, and they want to talk to each other. And there are a whole bunch of queues that exist for the queue agent. And there's a reply message queue. The single scheduler is another queue. So there are huge number of, quite a big number of queues exist in terms of even on such a small system. Load balancer queue. And I'm not familiar with all of them, that what each one of them is doing. So if you need to know more, you can look at the documentation and you will be able to understand what each one is doing. Some of them are quite obvious. Like for example, network is quite obvious what this is will be doing, but some of them you may need to dig into to determine what exactly the role or the work is. So, some of them are list exchanges or list exchanges. So that's pretty much it from the message queue perspective. You want to cover the IRC or should I actually go for the quiz first?
Let's do the questions first and then we'll do IRC.
Okay. Okay.
So now's your chance to win pizza. Oh,
Yeah.
okay, for the people in the room, we're going to ask you to speak into the microphone to answer these questions, and I will do my best to figure out who raises their hand first. But I may be wrong. Well, you got your hand up already.
I'm just trying.
Okay, first.
Go. What's up? Yes. But
How do I get to that documentation?
Get training.
Get training. That works too.
Chapter 4. That's chapter 4. Controller knows quiz. Yeah, click that. Okay, who wants to answer this first question?
When managing the images for OpenStack, you can complete all those tasks with the OpenStack dashboard. Some of them, which you covered in the last class, so some of them are coming from those questions. Maybe it's a kind of a good way to review some of those things. True, false?
True.
We got random answers of true.
You have to complete before.
Sorry?
It's true statement.
When setting up access and security, SSH credentials, keywords must be injected into the image after they are launched. After they are launched with the script. Which false. When you're creating the
False.
Who's getting the cookies?
Everybody.
Okay. You can track monthly costs with the metrics like virtual CPU, cost, uptime, disks, RAM.
We did this question and answer. Yeah.
All of them, some
Yeah.
of them, all of them. I think cost is the only one which is probably not applicable because we cannot determine the quality of service. We know how much virtual CPUs are burned, we know how long the instance is up, how much disk usage it is doing, and how much RAM it is using. So cost is the only one. QoS is the only one which is not available until now. The following OpenStack command line clients are available. Python Keystone client and
Example B. ACDE.
B.
ACDE. Example B.
No B.
OB. Okay, to install the client package, is this a correct command? I think the upgrade is not valid, it says optional.
Yeah.
Which means that you can either use install or you can use registration. But the command is correct or not?
No.
List images, is this a correct command? Plans, list images, true. Plans, list images.
Not list image, but image list.
Image version of image list.
That's image list, not list image.
and this is true. And troubleshooting image creation, you need to look at each of the following logs. Keep in mind it is an image creation. It's not instance creation, right? It's an image creation.
Can you do a list of bar log and no star? No slash. Bar log slash Nova. Nova is just do slash n star, or just do star in front.
There's no Nova. That's weird. I think maybe there's somewhere else.
That would be the interesting.
Do a find minus name, Nova, dot, or log, I'm sorry, bar log. Or no, let's go back. Quote Nova, Nova, star, asterisk, slash, bar log.
I don't think
It specifies the wrong syntax. Should you use something?
First, you have to specify the path where you want to
Path first, no, path comes first, right.
I think the main problem is that that stack keeps the log file somewhere else, not in the world. So that's, I think the main problem is that that stack keep its log files in the same, a different directory than a normal OpenStack installation.
Yeah, because it's not going to be in the system directory with those.
Yes.
I don't do find slash.
I don't think this is the beginner's class. You gotta, like, even if you're experts in this room, you guys know what you're doing.
Oh, there you go.
That's not a log file, that's not a log file.
That's a config file.
it's probably on a different place because it's not a regular installation.
Actually, see if there's an OpenStack Nova log. Looking at that path, that may be where it is.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I don't think it is on this system.
See if OpenStack Nova log exists. Worth a try.
Good try.
Okay, let's do it. To generate the key pair, use the following command sentence. Is it true or false?
False, Nova doesn't generate key pairs.
And you have to use a key again.
False,
Key pair add is not a.
Nova doesn't generate key pairs. It imports them.
When you want to launch an instance.
So basically, you are using the Linux tool for generating the key pairs. There is no OpenStack tool for generating key pairs. So you have to use the Linux key again. Yeah. So.
When you want to launch an instance, you can only do that from the image. When you want to launch an instance, you can only do that from the image.
That's false.
you have to,
Depends how you interpret it. Technically, yes, you're launching an instance from an image. It's the only way an instance can be created is from an image.
that is correct, but.
But
you
I'm not,
can-
but I don't know how they're actually inferring to it in that question.
Yeah, it is. You will see, yeah, the results are, the answers are in the end as well. But you can, you don't have to have an image to launch a VM, a KVM. You can install it from the ISO as well. But it has not been, I mean, in the OpenStack, it is not being done in that. You can launch a KVM without Grant's image itself. But
Well, in the hypervisors, yes, but OpenStack, unless something's changed in one of the newer versions, all instances come from images.
right, that's what I'm saying, within OpenStack, probably, maybe it is true. Okay, we'll take a look at the and we'll do some numerical.
I think you're right.
Okay, an instance has a private IP address which has the following properties. Which one is not applicable? The private IP.
Yes, C is false.
I think it's A.
So A is true, C is true,
No, because you can reuse the IP addresses.
A and C. A and C. One, so that.
Let's proceed, depends on the basic type of features.
If you restart, then you get the same.
yeah, it's A and C.
Start and stop these, then you can use the following command. Start.
Shut down and
stop
restart.
instance.
Start and stop. Yeah. Shut down and restart. If you start it, shutdown will shut it down, so that's stop. It's suspend and resume work. But shutdown and restart won't work, not as a pair.
So, I don't think there's a command for pause and unpause. Yeah?
There's a command for that.
So we have pause instance, suspended instance, restart, soft reboot, hard reboot. So, reboot. So, from this question, from the point of view of this question, I don't think to start and stop, you basically can stop it based on, if it is saying stop and start, then you can pause it, you can unpause it, you can stop it and start it. I mean, they are not talking about reboot, right? So if I pause means you can stop it, and unpause means you can restore it, restore it. Okay, to create a network in the OpenStack, use the following command. Neutron, network create, message, network. Is that true? Okay, identity service provides the following functions. Group policy, objects, message queuing, user management, publishing, service catalog. is the publishing and message queuing are part of the message queue. AMQP supports following messaging plus options. 0MQ, 11MQ, TIPO, ICQ. Which one is AMQP? Implementation? BME. OpenStack used the term tenant, but in earlier versions it is used the term customer. Number 9 being the last year, 72 for was it number 9? Yeah. You can launch an instance from an image or one. So if you have it stored on a permanent volume, a permanent block storage, that's it from my side. I think.
So I'm going to ask you to be the driver for this next session, so we don't have to change computers. So if you could just go to freenode.net, and I invite everybody in the audience to go to freenode.net as well. How many of you are comfortable with IRC right now? That's actually a smaller population than we would expect. Sean, you didn't raise your hand.
I'm totally uncomfortable.
So, how many of you have used instant messaging in any form in the last 6 months? How many of you use Twitter?
How many of you used instant or IRC in the last 5 minutes?
Yeah, exactly. I just asked that. It was like 3 people raised their hand who were comfortable with IRC. IRC, as far as I know, was the second popular instant messaging system, but I may be wrong on the history of that. There was one before it, and I don't know much about that. But IRC goes back before, actually this crowd, not so much, before most of you were born. At least most of our colleagues were born. Who knows what a hashtag is? Oh, come on.
It is what you think it is.
It is what you think it is. Well, on Twitter, have any of you used a hashtag on Twitter? Really?
Oh my gosh, you've all been tweeted out tonight. Hashtag your.
Okay, a hashtag on Twitter is used to identify topics, right? Some of you are shaking your head no, but you didn't raise your hand. I'm very disappointed in your shyness. And an @, is used to identify individuals. If you want to send a message to somebody on Twitter, you would say @Rev, well, Rev's not my Twitter handle, but it is on IRC. And that flags, and then I can search for anything that says @Rev, and then I can find any messages sent to me. Topics are identified by hashtags. Somebody, #MileyCyrus.com, hashtag Miley Cyrus, and you'll see all the people who are talking on Twitter about Miley Cyrus. It's a simple text search for a Miley Cyrus. That standard was not invented for Twitter. That standard was invented 25 years ago in IRC, as far as I know.
Sounds good.
Sounds good. I'm going to go with it. It's a good story. Nothing beats a good story. This is Freenode. This is one IRC provider. It is a very popular IRC provider. And if you are working as a contributor to OpenStack, if you're a nerd, if you're a geek, and you're working on OpenStack, you will probably use freenode.net, which is, again, a set of IRC servers, like a system of IRC servers around the world, a federation of IRC servers around the world. And among other things, I'm going to show you the web client. Now, you can also use an IRC. In fact, probably the 3 of you who actually use IRC probably use a real client on your PC or Mac or whatever. But this is a universal client that works on any web browser. So, Solomon, if you would click web chat.
Way ahead again.
Way ahead. So here we go. Now, web chat uses a CAPTCHA. It's my understanding, you can log in yourself, that's cool. We'll just do that. Don't go to any channel yet, erase the channel. And then, so the CAPTCHA works as a robot deterrer, so people don't do robocalls on this. And this particular CAPTCHA is used actually to enhance robotics recognition. so you know. So he recognizes, as a human being, he recognizes the number here, he types that number and it says connect. You can also use an audio captcha, which will say the words, and you can type those letters, those numbers in as well. So click connect, and now we will connect to the IRC status channel. So this is your private status. My best practice is to put all my commands, especially any command where I'm putting a password or any private information, or I'm looking up somebody like a whois, I will put it here because other people can't see what I'm doing. Notice the tab says status. So commands in IRC are always preceded with a slash. So someone is click the slash and say, who is Rev? Who is Rev?
Well, you're not logged on right now.
Oh, yeah, he's logged in as someone.
No, it said you are logged on right now, right?
Oh, you're right, I'm not logged.
So
Okay,
sorry.
wait. So we do an info. Actually, I'm getting ahead of myself. Okay, let's join a chat. So let's go to slash.
You can use
So the first command we're going to learn is slash join. Then hash OpenStack meeting, OpenStack dash meeting. So this is a channel. When he clicks this, anything that starts with a slash in the command line is a command, right? So click, go ahead and hit return. Notice a new tab opens up the top, and we're now looking at a chat room. Most of the chats you're going to see are things that say has joined or has left. That's just part of the way IRC works. As far as I know, I don't have a good filter for taking that kind of stuff out. Also notice here in this interface, and in actually most interfaces, you'll see a list of everybody who's listening to this channel. So if someone were, someone just typed, Sarab just typed, hello, now who is Sarab? Sean Roberts, perhaps? If you are in one of the OpenStack channels and you see Sarab, you're talking, that is a registered name, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so actually, if anybody hasn't logged in, I'd like you to try to log in. Actually, let's do that, that'd be fun. Can you do a slash quit? Oh, I don't know, wait, that's a good idea. Do a slash whois, / This is from Microsoft. Who is Sarab. And then we'll get some information about Sean Roberts, who is currently logged into one channel, which is OpenStack Connect Meeting. And the rest of it is just generic geeky stuff that you can do on your own. So if you were to say at Sarab, hello, notice everybody will see this thing, but Sean's interface will light up with a special. Notice how when Sarab wrote below Salman underscore below, it got red. There's a red thing. So most IRC channels will highlight something when your at name is shown. What else are we going to do while we're here? So Sean in particular does all his meetings in IRC, and it's just a chat room. It's just instant messaging. Again, it's a public bulletin board. Anybody can join any chat room. So I want you to do /join and do SFA OpenStack. SFA OpenStack. This is a channel that probably I don't think exists. Let's find out.
One word?
It doesn't matter. We're creating it now. So say join. Notice a new one started up. So we now have a blank slate. There's only one person currently logged into here, and that's Solomon. So if the rest of you were to join, some of you other people who have computers, do join SFA-OpenStack. Okay, did nobody really listen to me just now? This is so embarrassing. I have no charisma. There we go. There we go. Now we have two people who have joined the thing. And again, we can type messages. As long as you put a slash as the very first character, that message will appear in the stream here. So it's again, it's super simple. So we've learned a couple commands. We've learned the /whois command. We've learned the /join command. Again, /join space, then hash any name you want. If it's a channel that has not yet been opened, you create a new channel. If the channel exists, you will join the channel. You join everybody's right there. It's extremely simple. So let's do a /part. This is how you leave a channel. So /part, part, okay, part, and then that tab closed. So we're now outside, we're no longer logged into that channel. So again, /join to join a channel, /part to leave a channel. Any other messages you type in there, everybody who's in that channel will see the messages. Part of IRC protocol, depending on the group, is IRC is not recorded in general. Some groups are very private and they'll get actually kind of angry if you record and then publish the chat. On the other hand, there are robots that we use in the OpenStack meetings that you turn the robot on, you say record this whole thing, and you say end meeting, and that meeting will be published in the OpenStack Foundation area. I will mention one channel you probably do not want to go to unless you want the FBI, want to be on the FBI list, and that's /4chan. That's where all the fun stuff happens. But again, that's also where a lot of bad stuff happens. So I would recommend not going to 4chan. Agreed? Sean, is it recommend?
Well,
I already poisoned it, didn't I?
well, it's like, don't look at this, but if you wanted to look
But
at
if you wanted to look at it, definitely don't do that at work. It's a bad, probably not. It's a, yeah, it would be bad to do at work. There is a lot of bad stuff on IRC. And a lot of good stuff.
bad characters.
Bad characters and bad channels.
That's a pun, by the way, bad characters.
Oh, wow. Okay, so what else do we do? The main ones are /join. So I'm going to ask, I want somebody to remain online. Do a /quit. Now, the web client's a little bit funny at this point. So this logs us out. And the web client basically says you've disconnected from the server. Now I want you to hit the back button on your server, and you'll get a message that says, are you sure you want to leave this page? There we go. So no, leave the page, leave the page. And now what I'm going to ask you to do is we're going to log in as Sarab. Now, remember, we have Sean Roberts is already logged in as Sarab. No, S-A-R-O-B. What channel are you in? You still meeting?
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
It doesn't really matter. Okay, yeah.
Free note, it's not
Yeah, so go ahead and try to connect. And you will get connected, but you will end up with Sarab _ probably, unless somebody else has already got Sarab _. They're, in general, the names are ad hoc. And this is kind of the unusual part. You don't register your name first in IRC. You register your name as an afterthought. And I'll show you how to do that in just a second. So,
who you registered as is up higher than the log.
oh, okay, yeah, scroll up.
Nicknames already in use.
Nickname is already in use, signed on. Where's the one where it's signed? It's probably Sarab _.
That's right there. There. You just, oh, there it is. It's actually right there. Relay chat network Sarab. It's on that line which you have highlighted.
Ah, here it is, yeah, right here. So notice it saw that Sarab was already there, it's already logged in, so it created a new name, and the algorithm just add _. I believe if there's already an _ it does __.
Yeah.
It just keeps adding underscores until it finds a unique name. So what we're going to do now is, again, I want you to do a /quit. And I'm going to, so the rules of Freenode, and this is specifically a Freenode thing, not other IRC channels can choose to do this differently. But if you want to save your name, you want to have a reputation, you want people to recognize you like Sean does, or I'm Rev, you see Rev, you have to keep logging in at least within 60 days. And this is how you register your name. So we're going to pick a name. Somebody give me a random name that we don't think is in use.
Random name.
Random name, 793. That's almost guaranteed to not work. Okay, don't do any channels. So again, put in the captcha, which is 34, and connect. Oh, we're going to need an email address. Well, we don't have to actually do those.
Whoatbar.com.
What?
Whoatbar.com.
Yeah, we won't be able to read the, you don't have all to get the message from that?
Oh, no, it's dummy.
Okay.
Oh, you're talking about to.
So anyway, the command to register is, this is also good. So do /message MSG. So /MSG. Now this is basically a way to talk to the server. And then specifically, we're going to say nixserv. And this is talking to nixserv. And now we're actually talking to the server that maintains the names. So a good thing, here's a good one. We can try identifying somebody, which is identity. Oh, wait, no, that won't work. Info. Do info serov. Nixserv, info serov. So it's saying send a message to nixserv, and this is a robot basically. It says get info on serov, and here we have Jean's information. If you want to register yourself, it's /message nixserv. Now you have to be logged in, so you have to be logged in with a unique name because it's not going to ask you a name. It's and we won't do this right now, but it's /message /msg nixserv. So we're talking to the identity management server. We'll say identity, and then we will type a password. What will happen, again, this is a Freenode thing specifically. Freenode will then send, password, and then we have to put an email address. I'm sorry, it's register. Damn it. You can look this stuff up on Google. So it's,
Where do we look for this stuff if we need to find it on
Google.
Is there any specific website?
It's on Freenode as well.
You know, it's-
Oh, yeah, that's Freenode will probably pop up. If you do Google Freenode IRC or Google IRC Freenode, that'll come up at the top. And it basically just lists all these commands. And yeah, I just touched on a few of these commands. But again, the thing I want to make is if you register your name, you give a password and you get an email address, it will send that email address a message with another IRC command that you paste in here. And then that name is yours associated with that password for 60 days. As long as you keep logging in with that name and password, the counter resets to another 60 days. If you let it slip more than 60 days, the name is up for grabs for anybody to get. So that's pretty much my introduction to IRC.
You want me to add something?
And I do want Sean to add. Sean is much more of an expert at this.
So there's hi everyone. So there's a couple of extra things. So that, can you go to eavesdrop? So what Rick was talking about, that a lot of those channels get logged. Not everyone can attend meetings or certainly can't be on a channel at all hours. So if you wanted to go back in time and see what was going on, OpenStack maintains a service called eavesdrop that is where all that information gets stored.
What is the URL?
It's eavesdrop, just like it sounds, eavesdrop.OpenStack. Eavesdrop. So, so what this does is, why don't you try the meeting logs? just pick any of them. So what this is ever since we've started running meetings in OpenStack back in 2010, all the meetings are here online. And you can go back in history and see what's going on. So we hold a variety of meetings on different projects. And if you missed one, or if you wanted to go back, you're just joining and you wanted to go back, what's happened in the last 6 months, you can actually go through the meetings. So the default is, can you show the HTML version? This one? Yeah. So this is just a log, but it's there's a text version as well. The HTML is a little bit more descriptive. It'll actually show you just like it would look if you're in the meeting. You go back one and then look at just where it says HTML, not log HTML, but just HTML. Yeah, and so this is actually the what's called the Meetbot results. So the meeting robot, which you run when you run a meeting. I don't need to get into the details of how to do it. If you get interested, you can look it up. But this is a real strength of running meetings in IRC is there are certain commands that you can run during the meeting, and the results get dumped here for. So I can, as running the meeting, I can go back and look at my notes essentially. So if I wanted to record an action item, it pops up here later. It's a really great, easy summary. But also, if you wanted to look at the meeting, what happened, this is a really powerful way of figuring out what the hell happened last week or 6 months ago. Can you go back a couple, and we'll just look at a log of one of the channels. Back one more, right there, channel logs. Why don't you go to a busy one, just straight OpenStack, go up. Oh, I guess OpenStack's not log, I thought it was. How about OpenStack-dev? It's right, just, sorry, yeah, right there. I don't know why I'm clicking, it's my finger. So, yeah, just picking in. Sure. So, so there's going to be certain times there's going to be a lot of activity, other times there's not going to be any activity. So
in the beginning, it's mostly showing the people who are joining.
Yeah, this is late in the evening. I forget if this is registering GMT or not. It probably is. So this is GMT time. So, but anyway, so that's an important reference for IRC. So you don't have to be online all the time to see what's going on. There'll be conversations logged in here. The other thing to show is I actually went off to the meeting page and added a little link. So what Rick showed you was kind of the down and dirty way of getting the IRC web client to work. I created a link that does the very similar thing. It will just pop you right on. So just do a search for OpenStack meetings.
This?
No, in
Google search.
Right here.
That's a big fan.
And first one, yep, the first one. So, so I just had to type in OpenStack meetings, and I just added that actually, just a couple minutes ago, up to the top. See where it says connect to IRC via web client? Go ahead and just click on that. So I configured a little doohickey. It creates a default dummy nickname, so you welcome use or not. So it's doing something very similar to what Rick was doing, except it kind of creates some of the stuff. So it's gets you going faster. You'll see that it should pop up with the 4 main meeting rooms. So there's 4 meeting rooms for OpenStack, certain times of the day, especially during early morning Pacific time. It's usually pretty busy. There's usually at least 3, maybe sometimes 4 of the rooms going at the same time. So that's it. It's IRC.
I never quite knew. Is alt by consensus? What is an alt?
Alternate.
I knew. Oh, thank you.
It's because somebody, instead of saying, meeting 1, 2, 3,
Right.
just so we came up with meeting,
Alternate.
and then somebody said, well,
Okay, so
alternate.
there's nothing specifically.
It's kind of hard to. What's the word for? You could have what's, instead of alternate, what's the third one? Great.
Right.
Or come up with another word for alternate.
But in general, on IRC, if you see a dash alt, it's probably not a channel you want to go to.
Oh, yeah, it's not alternative. It's, well, not a alternative in the typical sense, so. IRC is nothing more than a way of communicating. The beauty of IRC is it's simple. I've actually gotten away from running meetings over phones or over video. Extremely inefficient, actually even in person to a certain extent. I usually, the meetings I'll have with colleagues, we may even be in the same room, but I'll run Meetbot anyways. Because doing just visual or audio meetings are extremely inefficient. I get done with a meeting in like 10 minutes, which normally would take like 2 hours because people start going off in directions, tangents, but when you're typing, you're getting in exactly what you want to say. You don't start just randomly typing stuff because you sound like an idiot. You're like, oh, what's the temperature or whatever. Random conversation does not happen nearly as much in IRC. So it's really an efficient way of running meetings. So I love it. Each to his own. But it's for OpenStack, for an open source, where everyone is all over the globe. And a lot of times, audio or video isn't even really possible, or it's going to be, who knows what the quality of that day is going to be. IRC always works. It's very low bandwidth. And I use it over my phone actually quite a bit as well.
So, I mean, what kind of discussion typically is happening in these different OpenStack? I mean, is it the forum for asked questions as well, or is it the forum for?
Yeah, that's a good question. For asking questions, it's not the best place. I mean, it certainly is a place. There's certain very specific channels, like there's OpenStack docs, which is the place where it's a forum for working on OpenStack documentation. It's pretty busy actually, so there's quite a bit of work, but it's very specific. Somebody jumped on there and said, hey, how do you configure the notebook client? They're gonna like, wrong place. So the general questions have really been moved off to a web forum called ask.openstack.org. That's really become kind of the operator's landing page for asking implementation questions. So IRC is not likely going to be the best place to do it. It doesn't mean that it doesn't still happen, and that's what the OpenStack channel was originally. It doesn't get, there is an OpenStack channel. It doesn't get nearly as much traffic as it used to, because most of it is moved off to ask, because you can ask a question and it stays there for a long time until you'll get responses over months. You can't really do that over IRC, because it's, unless somebody's on the channel at that time, you're not going to see a question. So, the primary thing that we use in OpenStack, we use IRC for is running meetings. But it's not the only thing, but it is the primary thing. So, any questions? I mean, it's kind of not that exciting, but it's for running meetings and communicating. We couldn't survive without it. I mean, it just makes stuff work. So it's really one of there's like 4 or 5 things within OpenStack that aren't really unique, but a combination of them makes the community run, and IRC is definitely one of them. So anyway, that is that. So is there any general questions? That I think we're getting ready to wrap up.
Next meeting day?
When is the next meeting?
January 22nd. So slight change to the schedule for those of you who are already signed up. We'll be going through chapter 5 on January 22nd.
Yeah, so we'll probably do chapter 5 and a little bit, and 6, which is the quiz, and a little bit, get into a little bit of 7, catch up. We're running a little bit behind, but it's, we'll figure it out.
And apparently it's a race, so we can't get behind. Cram it all in.
Well,
probably we will try to squeeze the topics together.
Yeah.
If we could, we'll figure that out.
Yeah.
Can be done to make sure we stay on schedule.
So
don't lag behind.
Yeah, or we can change the schedule. Part of what you may see the schedule that we have for this is actually following the release schedule of OpenStack. So there's certain periods in the release schedule that I'm not going to be around. Probably some of the team won't be around because when we get closer to certain release dates, everyone leaves because we're all getting ready for the releasing the code, and then we're getting ready for the summit. And so that month of May, which is the release, end of May is the summit, releases late April. I'm going to be busy, so I won't be here.
I know, but we'll have, remember how much fun we had last time when Sean wasn't here? We had a lot of fun. We talked about Cinder and graffiti, we ate cupcakes, and the Giants won the World Series. We had a lot of fun.
I don't think that's going to happen.
It's probably not gonna happen in May.
No.
Given that that's spring training.
Yeah.
But we'll find other fun that can be had. But we'll be done with these, we'll have big chapters, we only have a couple of weeks left. So you guys have been troopers. We will see you, I believe it's January 22nd, but keep checking the website and we'll keep everybody posted. Alina, wow, you consolidated and, okay. So,
we went for the second round?
I guess they did. You guys took me seriously. Good. Well, there's some cupcakes left. So definitely have cupcakes. Drive safely. Stay dry. Have a very, very safe holiday. Oh, one question.
Oh, that's okay. Do you have the past recordings?
Do you have past recordings? Yes. Chavo was so nice to post them all on his, what did you put on, a YouTube channel or?
Yeah, YouTube channel. So it will be posted on my YouTube channel, but I will share the link on the Meetup has a built-in forum for post functionality. I will post the YouTube link there. The main problem is that when the screen is really wide, the video cannot record it. So we are working on getting a proper camera for the session, but right now we will share the slides later on this Meetup channel. So you have to listen for the sound, and in the same time you have to slide your slides, your PowerPoint slides.
So are you projecting it through Google or what are you using?
Yeah, Google Hangout.
Google Hangout. I'm not sure whether you can share at the same time. Otherwise, what we can do is that whoever is the presenter can log in at the same time and share his screen to the Google Hangout. That way the content will become really visible.
You can add something else. So I'm not sure if everyone knows, I'm actually part of a group within OpenStack that's creating the training material. So the stuff you're seeing the stuff out on docs at openstack.org under training, it's actually the team that I've been working with. So we're in a process of updating it and turning it into slides, but also what's happening is one of the people on my team is starting to create videos. She started off just focusing on things like creating the training cluster, which we haven't jumped into yet, but we will. Some other things, but eventually she's going to get around to actually all the recordings from this one. We're spearheading this. As it starts jumping off to other user groups, she's going to start collating the user group meetings and getting the best ones that will be examples of that training material. So that'll start popping up. It'll probably be a couple months at the earliest before that really gets going. But she's already created a couple of videos around doing certain activities around this, and it's just it's going to be since we're doing so many changes, it's going to be January before we start publishing a lot of it. It's all getting spun up right now. So there will be video, professional quality video, but we're all doing it in parallel to doing this. So stay tuned.
Okay.
So very much.
That's it. Yeah. That's it.
Thanks, guys. Take anything you want, chairs, tables.